Good morning. Hi, it's Pastor Paz here, Lost Bowl Network. Let's talk today about autonomous cars. What's an autonomous car? I think pretty much everybody's heard about it in one shape or another. An autonomous car is pretty much hands-free, right? A car that drives itself. You don't have to drive it at all. You just tell it where you want to go and it takes you there, right? Sounds like a wonderful invention. We all have heard of the Google car. It has been on the road for over 1 million miles now. Only had a couple of accidents, and those are all been caused by the human factor, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But a little bit of history. Google came out with the Google car, which is an all-inclusive driving vehicle that drives itself wherever you tell it to go using computer and electronic gadgets, devices. And it started out on other platforms. I think they used it in a Prius to begin with all their sensors and electronics and stuff like that. That's how it began. And then actually it was a the DARPA project. It was a Department of Defense project. See if they could get a vehicle that was autonomous, drive itself. And they actually have that now. They have some 5 tons out there and some other vehicles that do drive themselves to and fro, I guess. And that's to save people from dying in roadside bombs or missile attacks or whatever. So, pretty cool idea. If you're into war, that's a good way to save people from getting killed. But we're going to talk about what does it mean to you and I, right? And is this the way we want to go? And what's the good things and the bad things about having an autonomous car versus a person behind the wheel making the decisions? And that's great. But for most of us, I don't know if that would fit. And is it the time? Is it now the time to have this vehicle? Well, let's look at some of the good things about an autonomous vehicle, right? You could go to work every day and you could get some extra sleep, right? You could get up in the morning, and if you drove already a half hour to work, man, that's a half hour where you could go to sleep and not have to worry about it. It's like being on a train or a bus. Somebody else is driving, right? A plane. So you can just kind of sit back and relax and have no worries. It'll take you where you want to go. You could put on makeup. Running late, you're going to put on makeup on the way to work. You could play games with the kids. You could fry an egg, make your coffee. Man, there's just a number of things that would be so great about having a car that just drives itself right onto work. And I'm all for it. So, as a human being, it's great. It's a great thought, man. You can do a lot of stuff with the extra time that you have that you've been wasting holding the wheel and having to make decisions based on the route to work, right? So, what are the other good things about an autonomous vehicle? They're very efficient, and they're very safe, or as safe could be, compared to a human driver. They will always, if we had all autonomous vehicles on the road, that's all of them, not just some, not partial, but all of them, it would be a pretty safe environment. And the great thing is that you probably wouldn't even own your car. And we'll get to that in a minute. But you wouldn't run into anybody because the cars wouldn't allow it. You wouldn't go beyond the speed limit or the conditions that were safe for driving. It wouldn't allow it. It wouldn't hit anybody because it would stop before it did. And so that's all great as far as driving goes, and it would find the most efficient route, it would find the most efficient speeds, and most likely it would be an electric vehicle, and it would probably charge itself at some point somewhere. So you wouldn't have to go to gas stations. And it would, if it had gas, it would always find the most efficient way to use that fuel. It would be designed that way. Some human being designed a program to do those things. And as far as being the owner or the driver, or I'm not the driver, the owner or the passenger in one of these cars, it would be great because let's say that you don't own it. Do you just pay for it like an Uber car? You push a button on your refrigerator and the car would just show up in the morning from some central point out there, or the car could be roaming around or sitting in some specific spot, and it would show up at your doorstep and pick you up, and you would probably tell it where you want to go, or you'd put in the push a button on a map, or put in an address or something to this effect. And you would tell it where you want it to go, and it would take you there, and you would pay a small fee, right? You would pay for like a taxi or an Uber driver. You would just pay that fee to use the car for that. And if you owned it, I mean, the insurance would be obviously fairly low. You'd want some insurance just in case, but it would be more like renter's insurance, right? You wouldn't pay very much because the likeliness of you getting into an accident is very, very low now. And you wouldn't have to pay that big insurance payment. And because you own the vehicle, you could have it special. It could have like a couch type situation, and it could have a fold out bed. Who knows what it could have in it to take you where you want to go. It could have a table in it for you and your kids to play on, or what have you. And it could be specially designed just for you and your needs, which is great, right? So the insurance would be low. It would probably be a low cost vehicle to have. It would be very efficient, so it would use energy very efficiently, and it would be low cost to you. And you might not even have to use oil, fossil fuels to fuel your car. And so it could be a great thing. It'd be like taking an elevator everywhere you go. You just push a button and there you go. So there's a lot of great things about it. And if it was that way, that would be great. It would be very efficient. It would be perfect because, you could do those things. But right now this vehicle is mostly used in light situations like California, where the weather's damn near perfect all year round. The southern states, where the weather is really nice, right? It's not here in like Michigan, where we have really crappy roads. We don't pay for those roads. We have potholes all over the place, or we just patch up stuff. We don't paint stuff. It's just, and so there's some drawbacks, especially like right now. Okay, so if you owned a vehicle, a lot of people have their Teslas right now, and their Teslas are great. They have autonomous driving, but it really only works on highways, and that's well-planned highways. So long stretches where the vehicle can go and make decisions slowly without having to be too abrupt, and they're running into chances of an accident or something else, well, that becomes a problem. But it doesn't do well in city situations, and it doesn't know its way around very well, right? So that could be a drawback right off the bat. And another thing is, if you had an autonomous vehicle, you always got to worry about what other people are doing. Semis, other people that don't have a vehicle that drives itself and they're driving. That's why the Google car gets in an accident, because it tries to do the safest thing possible, the safest driving possible. So it's not going to let you get in an accident, but you may get in an accident because it could get rear-ended because it did the right thing and you didn't. Right? We have habits. We're drivers. We have habits. We have expectations. Sometimes we get in an accident. Sometimes we don't. But one of the drawbacks of that vehicle would be if you owned one, right? If you were the Uber guy and you were trying to get a car, maybe you'd have to wait a while. You push your button and your button says, oh, a vehicle will be there in 30 minutes. 30 minutes? I don't have 30 minutes to wait for a vehicle to take me to work, right? I'm already running a little bit late. Or if I was to leave right now, I'd make it on time. There's another rub. Would you make it on time? That's a good question, because what if you got in this vehicle? This vehicle's going to do the right thing. So if you're running a little bit behind, forget about it. There might be a button on there that says, push the limits. But because this system would be so big, Big Brother would also be watching. Right? And that means that the system has to go through, it would have to be a huge system. And it would make you late, most likely. You wouldn't get there any faster than you would have had you left a half hour earlier. Because it's always going to find the safest route. It's always going to direct traffic the most efficient way. And if it doesn't, if it's just like it is now, you could sit on a side street waiting for traffic to go by till it believes it's safe enough for your car to pull out there. There could be endless traffic. Right now, sometimes you take the risk. You're like gunning it to get out into traffic. Well, that car won't do that. An autonomous car won't do that because it knows it's not safe. It knows it's not safe. And you're thinking, well, won't the other cars see it and slow down and let it in? Not necessarily. Right? It depends. If it sees it, if it knows it, if this thing's sending out a signal, maybe. But could you imagine the technology it would have to have that? So let's say it sends out a signal, I'm turning into traffic. What if it sends that signal, and that signal goes on to another, like if you're in a driveway and you want it to pull out. It sends that signal, I'm pulling out, I need to pull out. And the surrounding traffic may be a road that's just 30 feet from your driveway, but you're not turning on that road yet. So all that traffic slows down because it believes you're turning into traffic. And it looks for you, and it doesn't see you, and it keeps going, but it slows down, it slows everybody down. It doesn't think that way. I mean, it could think that way if it had a satellite system that directed all cars, that all the information went through one system, and that system calculated everything, right? Man, that would be very Big Brotherish. Think about it. Let's say that you owed traffic tickets. No, let's not do that. Let's say that we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about the Big Brother aspect in a minute. But let's focus on the getting to work thing. So it's not going to get you there. And plus all the roads, they have to be pretty well perfect. Because will this thing miss a pothole? And if it doesn't miss a pothole, does it stop in the middle of traffic till it can go around? If there's 2 lanes, does it stop traffic so that they can go? There's a lot of stopping and going for a vehicle, right? It's a lot of it. It can't just go around the hole. It's going to hit it. And you're going to get a flat tire. Now it's going to pull over to the side, and it might block all the traffic from behind you. it's going to send out a signal to another vehicle to bring a new tire, right? Or somebody who's got to come out here in a vehicle that is not autonomous. It would have to be some kind of a rescue vehicle, a tow truck type thing, and it would have to be in traffic. Now you put the human factor back into it. Now the opportunity for an accident is far and wide because you put the human factor back into it. So there are some good things and some bad things about having this vehicle, and you might like it, you might not, who knows. But let's just real quick talk about the scary thing, which is the Big Brother aspect of it. Right now there are cameras everywhere, right? If you were to do something wrong or presumed wrong, a camera's going to catch you somewhere. You say, well, there was no camera where I was at, but you know what? They'll go out further, and they'll look, and they'll determine, and they'll factor in, why were you in that area? They'll get your face, right? Let's say that, no, I'm not saying that people should go out and rob stuff, but let's say that you steal a candy bar from a store, and you're an adult, and there's no camera in the store, and there's nothing outside the store, but you're, let's say, 50 miles from your house. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to go out and you're going to try and get away. You just get in your car and you drive. Well, right now, if you get in your car and you drive, you could drive anywhere. But you could go by a street light that has a camera, and that camera is going to look at you, and it's going to determine you're 50 miles away from your house, you're not supposed to be there. You are now suspect. They're going to look through, you're going to go by a bank, and a bank ATM is going to take a picture of you, they can see you in the background, and the government's going to calculate, why are you there? And they're going to figure out something. They're going to try and figure it out and say, why is that person over there? Maybe they stole that candy bar. We better pull them over. Well, in an autonomous car, it'll be even easier, right? They will know you right from the get-go. They will know you and your driver's license. You'll probably have to swipe it, or you'll have to say who you are, or it's going to take a picture of you because it's going to have a camera because it wants you to be safe, so it's going to see you and know what's going on at all times. And so will Big Brother. So if you, let's say, accidentally didn't pay for that candy bar, the camera picked that up at the store. Now they know, it gets transferred to a police station. Hey, you walked through an RFID tag and it wasn't a paid for candy bar. You accidentally put in your basket, but you didn't pull out of your basket. It was 25 cents. But that's 25 cents. Now you get in your car, it locks you in and takes you directly to the police station, where you go in for questioning because you took a 25-cent candy bar by accident. Or, you know what? You didn't pay your taxes, or you didn't pay something else, or maybe you owe a credit card bill. Right? Now it takes you to the authorities. Well, you owe somebody something. You want to explain why and how you're going to pay for it. Because you got in a car and it took you directly there. Because it recognizes who you are. Facial recognition, fingerprints on the car, whatever the case may be. So you will be under Big Brother's thumb, per se. You will not be autonomous. They will know where you are at all times. If you've seen the movie with Tom Cruise, what was that movie where he was a cop and they could see that he had not, or that he was going to be a future killer? God, I cannot remember that movie to save my life. Anyway, look it up. Tom Cruise. In the movie, he's driving in a car, and the authorities now know exactly where he's at. And they try to steer the car to take him to the authorities, and he breaks out of it and does some hokey dokey and gets away. would be the same thing for you. The vehicle would lock itself up and take you directly to the police station. And the authorities would take you directly out of that car and into jail. But let's go on the outside of things. Let's just say that you didn't do anything, but maybe you were expressing your opinion. Right now, there are climate deniers out there. And there's this law that says that you will be arrested, that you will go to jail for, or you will be indicted for saying that climate change is a hoax. Well, here's the deal. It's not that you're saying that climate change is a hoax. It's not. And maybe you don't believe it's there. It's true. We do have climate change. But does that negate your opinion? No, it doesn't. You can always say that it doesn't exist, but there's data there that tells you it does. So you can always say it because you have freedom of speech. You can say, I don't believe it. And they can't arrest you for that. But if you do something to coerce it, like come up with data against it, you falsify documents, you hold documents for whatever reason for your own benefit, like an Exxon, when you knew that there was an issue a long time ago, but you kept it out of the eye so that you could continue to make money, and then you lied about it, well, yes, there is punishment for that. But if you just want to express your opinion and say, I don't believe it, okay, don't believe it. It's still happening. But just because you don't believe it, we're not going to put you in jail for that. That's your own opinion. That's an opinion. When you falsify data, that's different. Okay? So, just going back to that, sorry, I got sidetracked. Going back to that, if you were like a climate denier, and it really came down to if you really said it, and they wanted you to go to jail, they could just take you and drive you right there. You may never want to get in a car again. Right? Because you don't know where you'd be. Or maybe the car's got some kind of problem with it, and it speeds up and crashes into somebody else. Or the electronics fail, and it just dies right there. Or the power fails, it just dies right there. Or we get attacked by another country, and we get a big electrical impulse thing that all of a sudden everything's dead. Now you got no place to go, no way to get there. You're stuck. You're a sitting duck, right? So that could be an issue. But if the system actually worked, it would be a great system because it would be efficient. It would be better for humankind. It would make it more efficient for us, for our environment. But until we have that perfect system, and we have the checks and balances in place to keep people from abusing that system, it's not such a great thing to have a car that drives itself. Let's focus in on making our day, our drive more efficient, our vehicles more efficient, and less impactful on our environment. This is Pastor Paz from the Lost Bull Network. Have a great day.